We don't have the whole class here, but we're going to start anyway. Who's
We are.
missing?
We have
Ron
Ron's here
and Bruce
and Amber.
Amber. That's who it is. All right. Well, anyway, we'll just do a couple announcements. What do we have?
This weekend we have
A Sunday service
Sunday service.
with Kyle LeBenz
No,
again.
yes.
And then next week we have a movie. We have Dave. That's going to be fun. Have you seen it? No. Oh, it's such a beautiful movie. Anyway, it's in honor of the election to make us all just
And
lighten
it's so
up a little.
perfect for now.
It's also kind of Halloweenish because, well, you'll see what I mean. Well, it was either that or the Rocky Horror
Because
Picture
he
Show.
plays another character
And
and he's Halloween.
I didn't want to put Rob into that.
Anyway.
All right,
Yeah,
and
Rob
then-
requested
And
Rocky
then
Horror.
the only
but
other thing I can think of right now is that on Election Day, we're going to keep the center open during the day for people to
drop by and
drop
we'll have
by
meditation music
and
and
just center and do whatever they do. Center in the
we'll
center.
center in the center.
Yeah. And that's all I can think of right now.
Out of batteries.
So let me use this. You can go get me a battery, and I'll do the opening. Or better yet, just stay here. I'll go get it after. No, well, I want you to. I want you to focus while I'm opening. So just. All right. Yeah, it just ran out of a battery. All right. Oh, dear. Okay.
I want you to know that is the one thing I've never said. My friends used to always say, that old man.
Yes, dear. Yeah.
All you need to say is yes, dear.
He's never said yes, dear. All right. All right. So, what are you doing, Ron? Oh, you're putting chairs. Okay. Oh, you need a book chair. Okay. All right, let's just take a deep breath. Just hold it for a minute. And just let it go. And as we let it go, let's just let go of everything that we don't want here right now. Just staying in the present moment and just letting go of anything extraneous that needs to be gone right now. Let it fall into the nothingness from which it came. And just as you breathe in, just breathe in life and breathe out life. And breathe in peace and breathe out peace. And breathe in joy and breathe out joy. And breathe in love. And breathe out love. And so right here, right now, in the center of all creation, in this moment, this only moment, this one moment that can never be duplicated again, this one beautiful divine moment, I am here. I am here right now, and I know that as I am here right now, so Spirit is here right now, through me, as me. And I know that for each and every one of us here tonight, we are the power and presence of Spirit, of life, of joy, of beauty, of love. And that is what we bring here tonight. We bring those beautiful qualities and many more, wholeness and wisdom and all that is good. And so I know this night is filled with that goodness of God flowing through us as we come to this material for tonight, and all the words and all the thoughts and all the conversations that we have, I know are coming from the highest place, and that we are gaining something wonderful tonight from just being here together. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for the giving and the taking, the giving and the receiving, and all that takes place tonight, knowing that it is divine right action always, and for the highest good of all. So knowing these things to be the truth, I am so grateful, so grateful, so grateful. As I just take this word I have spoken, I release it, I let it go, and I let it be, as we affirm together, and so it is. Umberto. So now we're just missing Bruce and Amber. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you in a different seat. No.
No, we don't. It is funny in classes that people tend to go to the same seat all the time, but I mean, even I do it. I don't know why, but even on Sundays, people go to the same seat. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is a little review. We want to know how you did with your principle for this week, which was the creative process that's continually in action universally, and then as you. So did you have any observations or thoughts about that or anything that came to you? I don't think we need to read it again, do we? So, but I will anyway. Spirit is the great causative power of the universe. The word or thought of God eternally initiates the divine creative process. In this process, law is continuously set in motion to create from the unformed substance innumerable forms from which follow the thought patterns of spirit. And then that's you, spirit, as an individualized expression. And you're merged with the universal subjective, which is the law, the mind of God in action. And so all your human thought is creative and reenacts in the microcosm, the divine creative process. That's a lot of words, but do you get it? The way I always like to look at it is that there's all this stuff, and I think I've said it before, it's just immense and it's unlimited, and we get to use it, and whatever we use is us, is our mind. But it's in the one mind, but it's our mind. We're going to go more into that. But anyway, you're just staring at me. Did you apply this principle this week at all?
Yeah.
Yes? All right.
Yeah, I did have an experience of it, and I just saw that somehow I'm being more creative. These ideas are coming to me with regard to some new things that I want to do, and new income sources
Oh,
that
great.
I want to create. And so I'm just watching it and seeing how it goes. I also saw that because as I looked through some of the other exercises and tried putting them into effect, I was observing how often I would both hit the mark and miss the mark, and it was like. Oh, wow, you got to stay on top of this stuff, on an ongoing basis, because it's so easy to fall into default, and then it's clear why things don't work when that's happening. So I was like an example. I wanted to. Well, I guess that was another exercise. I'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on the creative process? No. Thank you, Adara.
Well, I'm continuing on my theme of staying out of detail. And so I focus the creative process on frequency. I focus the creative process on what divine frequency I wanted to manifest or extend or radiate. And I really found when I was able to do that, as you're saying, some days I was just feeling like, I've got it, and then the next day I'd be like, no, not quite completely, But I really found that the frequency I was focusing on would be reflected back to me from random strangers, from neighbors, from, just really seeing the truth that the substance goes out and then gets reflected back. So I really, for me, really just saying, okay, no more than 2 or 3, what are the frequencies I want to embody and radiate today? So.
That's good, because it is.
It's a little bit what we talked about on Sunday, too, about vibrating at that, not higher than frequency, just a frequency that is in higher essence, that it does match. And that we are guaranteed that if we stay at this one, isn't to get away from people, but to actually vibrate. Because when we go up, we actually bring people up with us. So
Because you don't want to walk around avoiding people
no,
just
no.
because you go, oh, that's negative energy. You don't want that's not really.
So this week I had been practicing two parts. So the creative process I wanted to focus on was creating more harmony in my life. And I had realized I had been recognizing and thus creating a lot of turmoil and chaos. And so this week, in the prayer that I chose and in my daily treatments, I chose to recognize harmony and really tried hard when those, like my natural reactions, like my subconscious thoughts would pop out and I want to say something that was not necessary to say, but that I would catch them. I knew it would cause disharmony. And so part of it is also creating the action, right? Actually walking the thought. And so I knew it would cause disharmony. So I would stop it and sometimes even literally go silent. And then realize that, no, I need to embody harmony. I need to be harmony, and I will create harmony. And it really helped a lot this week. It was a lot of catching what my words were saying. So it was like an all three, the prayer and the exercise, and creating this idea of harmony in my everyday life. And it really worked. It
I
was
love
great.
that. I love the fact that you focused on, both of you, all of you, that you focused on qualities instead of just going, I want to see what I can create, but instead creating on how I'm going to present myself to the world and see if that's reflected back to me. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's been a really interesting week. My really close friend is in the hospital, and I've just been being open. And the thing is, somehow I am the point person. So, and people are suggesting things that I don't agree with sometimes, and I'm like, no. Yeah, I'm surprised how it comes out. But so then there are all different things. My, in expanding my business and exploring beautiful options and receiving options. It's coming in. Like as soon as I open up, I don't know, my heart cracked open this week. Yeah. And I'm going to cry. So I'm sure something about this is going to help. I'm so glad. I knew it was coming. That's why I went, I've got to be at this class. So anyway, but then big thing, then I keep creating things. And then I'm insecure like that. Oh, that can't really, I pull back. So I see really clearly where that insecurity is and then I go, well, I do know. I am, God is in me. God, that's what we're learning. That's what we've learned, So then, and one other thing is I'm working on a private where I go very deep into the energy and the divine, connection with the divine. And I have to have faith that I know what I'm talking about, and it's pure. And so that's happening too. So thank you.
Beautiful.
It's a lot of daringness that you have to go through so many changes within a week, as we've all go through. Hello, Amber. But what I've been guided to, is this Janice we're talking about? Okay. So, yeah, well, I know because, you had left a message about it in the box. So I just want to, I like to think I was more clairvoyant, but you were like, look at me. No, it is. No, that's for me. So is her name Janice? Okay. So do you mind if we take a moment to do a treatment for Janice? And so that we can gather this energy. And by the way, that was our secret. But not to you and me, because you're the one who wrote it, and we're the ones that take it. So we already went into prayer chamber for this beautiful lady, but I thought it would be a wonderful opportunity for us to be in a circle and take it in. And here's the other thing. None of this matters what's going on with her. We need no details, as you were saying, Adar. We need no details. Spirit doesn't need our helpful guidance to let it know what it needs to be knowing, but we do. So let's just take a wonderful, wonderful moment and just And I invite each and every one of us to go swimming right now. Go swimming in the divine, from the divine. And what I know is that there is this essence of love that is moving through and as everything. It is my identity as I speak. So I let Patrick's personality just, be there but fade away for just a moment as spirit just envelops and moves this treatment, moves the energy from this place of absolute power. And as I know this God self as Patrick, that this God self had this incredible idea with my name on it. I know that it has each and every one of our names on it. And I take this incredible power, this incredible energy, and I move it from this one moment, this divine moment, for and about Janice. And this is what I know for an absolute spiritual fact about Janice, is Janice at the very, very core of Janice's being is God, is love, is perfection, is health personified. And I know that every single person that is coming in contact with this incredible light being is healed as well. And I take this moment to just bless Janet and this friendship and this love and this incredible dance of life. And that every emotion that it comes up for family, friends, strangers with Janice is absolutely fine. It's perfect. I get out of the way of thinking it's this way or it is that way. What I do know is that Janice is the light of the world. And in this silence, I breathe in wellness, wholeness, completeness. Janice is the absolute expression of God, of good, of health. There is nothing that is opposite of that. And that divine frequency has been turned up to its highest and from its highest voltage and continues to expand and expand and expand. Janice is loved. Janice is eternal. Janice is love. So we take every bit of energy from each and every one of us, knowing it only comes from one energy, and we allow that healing energy to just have its way for and through and as Janice. Yeah, let the horns blow. Let the celebration begin. The celebration of Janice's incredible light being life that Janice is, always has been, and always will be. So knowing and accepting this power, knowing and expecting that the word that I have spoken has already been delivered before I even spoke, because there is no time or space in the mind of God. So let's celebrate Janice right here, right now, as love. And step aside. And allow the law of our being to just move through and have its way. So with that now, I am satisfied. This divine spiritual thirst has been quenched. And I just am at peace, knowing that my word will not return to me void. And with absolute gratitude for this opportunity, for this divine circle, for this divine moment that we have all shared, and for the demonstration for Janice to have already taken place, we affirm by signing on the spiritual dotted line And so it is. There you go. In life, I think it's important to know that if we can do this even more often, to stop whatever's going on and say, you know what? Let's remember the truth. Thank you, Jan. You're welcome.
Thank you. We were,
So yeah.
we were talking about a principle too, the creative process, and how it affected our week, if any observations we made. Ron, do you have anything to say while Amber's getting settled?
There were always plenty of chairs to make desks out of, just like when we were kids.
Yes, this was an interesting week because this is the time of the month where a lot of my bills come in. So I had lots of opportunity this week to see what my thoughts really were and how I kind of manifested a lot of abundance. And it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. That's the good news. And it's a constant paying attention to my thoughts all week long, because every time I go to another bill, it was like that thought, I can't afford it, I don't make enough money. Those thoughts sneak in, and I gotta like, God is my source, I mean, gotta do that stuff to get through it. I got through it, and there were lots of, I manifested lots of little opportunities for abundance.
Good. That's great. Awesome. Amber, do you have anything to add?
How you doing, Amber?
I'm doing great, thanks. Yeah, I'm doing great. His birthday has been going on and on and on this week, this month. And had another party yesterday, had another party on Saturday. So, yeah, it's going really great. I don't know, the creative process is magical. I went with a friend of mine who wanted to give me a pillow, some pillows for my couch, and sew them for me. So we went. I had never sewn anything, so I didn't know what an incredible creative process this was of going to Kaua'i Stitchery and then Vicky's Fabrics and looking through. It seemed like endless amounts of choices to choose to create these pillows. So at the end of just about walking out of the second store, and being a Libra, making a decision and choosing out of all of these was hard, just about walking out the door, and the perfect material manifested. And I said, okay, that's the one. So then she went and she made them for my birthday. And they just looks like I redecorated my whole living room. It was incredible. And, you know, when I see the creative process and I see whether it's cooking or whether it's creating something, it's a mess. It's things all over the place and getting things together, choosing things and putting them and mending them together. And so instead of telling myself I'll never find it, the perfect one's on its way, and at the very last second, there are the most beautiful pillows on my couch that you could imagine.
That's great. That's the key, is to be able to say, it's already done. The perfect is here. It's on its way, however you want to put it, instead of putting yourself in the middle of it, just wondering if it's going to show up. In anything, just like saying, this is the way I visualize it. And how it's going to happen, you never know. I mean, you don't know how something's going to come to you. You don't know if you're going to meet someone in the parking lot, right? I mean, you don't know what it's going to be, how it's going to play out. And a lot of times we stop things up by getting in the way of the house, because we really stop the universe by that, you know. So I know for myself it's true. So once you speak your word, you just have to trust that your word, that your word has power. And you don't need to worry about the rest of it. Just move your feet, in the direction you're directed to move them.
Well, Amber's is a perfect example
Yeah.
of the creative process because you have this sea and this field of all of these different choices. Your seed is the pillow. The pillow was the idea. I'm gonna get a pillow for my birthday. But then all of these choices are out there. And you can have that one, I don't know. And then you start picking and making choices, and then all of a sudden, your pillow is filled. But it's still us who's deciding. She didn't just, she could have, Amber could have, we can say it because we've done it many times, at least I have in my life. Well, whatever. What do you want? Whatever, something good. Instead of, I don't know, but there's so many choices, and I like that color, but I don't like that design. I don't know. There it is, and before you know it, she's got a couch with beautiful pillows on it
Just don't know
that
how.
the universe just allowed it to make, and it comes out a pillow.
Could you bring a picture of it to the next one? Could you bring a picture of your pillows?
I did. You know what? I didn't want my phone to go off in class, but yes, I do have them in the car.
Oh.
It was. You know, I'm not a seamstress. My grandfather was a professional tailor. So for home ec class, when we had to make something, I just had my grandfather make it for me. And of course got an F because she could look 1 second at this sewed creation and knew it wasn't me who did it. But
That's funny.
it's a true story. Anyway, I've always helped people who are very creative put their products out, do their things in whatever way. And now that we've got all this wonderful time, I'm getting into the creative process, the unlimited ability to make things happen. It's fun.
As it should be.
Miracles happen. Or they are normicals, but they are miracles.
Talk.
So how do you talk
I
exercise?
can't wait for this one.
I think Umberto started to touch on it, but it was where you're supposed to kind of see how you
Is
talk
that
to
the one
yourself.
you were talking about?
Yeah, you know which one I mean. The little exercise that was about. I hope I'm not in the wrong class. No, I know.
No,
I'm
you're in
not.
the right class.
We have 2 classes at the same time. Sometimes I'm like, which was that? This practitioner class or was that this class? Where is it? Yeah, there it is. How you talk. I can't afford it. To God is my source. I'm not able to travel to.
Ron hit
I
on
have to
that
go
just
there.
a little bit.
I have
when he
to.
Did you have something, Umberto?
Yeah, I was having some difficulty with Mo and my son, and so I was recognizing that like I could speak with him like with irritation about the things that he does that limit him, or I could and limit us and kind of ground us out sometimes. Or I could speak with him in a different way where I don't use the limitation. And so I found myself at one point today going to his room, really kind of irritated that, he hadn't done something after asking many times for him to do it. And instead of coming with that energy and with that upset, I spoke gently to him, because I felt the change as I was just before I was going to knock on his door. That kind of came over me, like, which is something that I've been noticing a lot. It's like this way of being comes over me, and I feel it palpably, and it changes how I'm feeling inside. It almost changes like who I'm being inside, and it's a very nice feeling. It's kind of like a recognizable shift, which is really quite fun. And when I talked with somebody else about it, that's also been fun, because by talking about it, I I feel the shift. And I mentioned that in the middle of the conversation. Oh, it just happened, you know. And so I've never talked to somebody about that, and that was fun doing.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, it can be true how you talk to somebody else. What you expect to show up when you meet with somebody or in a situation with your kids, if you keep expecting it to show up a certain way, what's going to happen? I mean, stuff either works or it doesn't work, but it does work. So it's powerful to just have a different way of talking and a different way of expecting, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, where I live, we have a neighbor who has a nephew who is dealing with some pretty severe mental and emotional disturbance. And sometimes he gets with friends and does drugs, which makes his disturbance worse. And where he can go when he's disturbed is beyond anything you'd imagine. You know, really intense police, blah, blah, blah. And I, like Jamie, this particular day, I was focusing on harmony. And he did this thing where he comes out with his car and puts the bass up so high, literally the whole walls of all the buildings in my condo complex are shaking, and the vet downstairs is falling down because he's got PTSD in his nervous system and that bad. And he's screaming, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," at the top of his voice. And I noticed a reflexive thought that I had, which was, I wish he would be quiet. And then I went, wait a minute. The disharmony that I'm feeling right now is my resisting what's happening out there, okay? And so I played with, not about shifting him at all. I played with coming in and just saying, he's doing the best he can. This is God, you know, bless him with whatever grace he needs and whatever his timing is. And I found that the noise didn't irritate my nervous system anymore. I don't know if that makes any sense. It was like moving around me like I was a rock instead of going into my nervous system and irritating me. And within 2 minutes of me actually being peaceful with really loud, really loud, and the car screeching in and out and the thing booming, within 2 minutes of my getting peaceful, he shut everything off. I was like, whoa, it wasn't my intent. My intent was for me not to be in disharmony.
Well, that's the thing. If whenever I'm working with somebody that in that type of situation, it's us. If we demand peace, if we say we have to have peace, we are peace, and we bring ourselves to a peaceful state, nothing can show up. It's like what you were saying about vibrating. Nothing can show up opposite that. And if it does, you're not going to even notice it, probably. Or it's just going to stop. The person's going to move, or it's going to stop, or something's going to change. But that was so good because you said I want him to be quiet. That could go a lot of different ways. And plus, you can't do it for somebody else. You can't demand that somebody else does something. It all comes to you. Right. No, it's good.
I think the biggest thing, too, is that what I've been finding this week is the idea of judging everything. Meaning anything from somebody not being well physically to some that noise, bills not getting paid. Judging it as right and wrong and bad and good. And I'm really seeing that I was speaking with somebody this week, and he was quite alive. He had a lot of anger that was just coming up, and it was just amazing. And he wanted me to tell him something. He said, I want you to tell me something that's going to, shift my life right now. And I've known this. He's been my friend for a long time, 30 years probably, 25. And but what I told him is, I said, what if the feelings you're having, because he doesn't want to have them, right? If he's mad at somebody and if there's some revenge and he's thinking revenge on him, get revenge on him. And we've done that a lot of times. People break up. People, I want them to feel what I felt. That all of the stuff that we're going through. And I thought, what if we just like the incredible mystics and the sages who just let it come in and float and not grab it? And I said, well, you know what? It's really okay that you feel that way. It's really okay that you don't like her and almost hate her. And then what's pissing you off is that you're loving her at the same exact time. And so think of the friction that's going on in the head, the mind. It's like, no, yes, no, how could I would, and all of a sudden you could feel the calmness on the phone that you don't have to protect it anymore. It was okay just to calm down and say, wow. Because the question of anything, but a question for him was, how could I still love her after all of the horrible, terrible stuff going on? How could I have a moment of love? And I went, because you can.
Well, you wouldn't have all that other stuff if you didn't.
And all of a sudden it means, you mean I can just be, yeah. It comes in and goes, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder what. Why am I thinking? I said, get curious. That's what I said, not just him, all of us. Let's get curious. Ooh, I want a revenge on her. And at the same time, I'm hoping she's thinking about me. How's that possible? Wow. That is like movie making stuff. Do you see the difference of that? Then get out, get out. Don't think that, don't think that. No, and then your whole time your heart is shutting down. So this is a great theme we're having tonight of just breathing in and not judging it, just observing it. That's the word. How are we talking to ourselves, people?
Why is it important?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Why?
You know, feelings are transitory. And whenever I'm in that transitory state, I try to give myself, reverse the positive with a reverse the negative with a positive. And a long time ago, I actually taught a workshop on affirmations and what's the opposite of affirmations? Whatever, just the opposite. Anyway, I taught a workshop, and what was anyway. But the interesting part is when you put and just like this list that you gave us, when you put the opposite against the feeling, you realize that both exist at the same time. It's only your choice, and I think my favorite word is called possibility junction, which was the very beginning exercise of this whole course, is that very self-negative talk that we all put out there, and then saying the opposite. And even if you're not feeling it, fake it till you make it. Right. And the more you fake being positive with very horrible experiences, all of a sudden that, like, you know, Andrew was saying, the calmness comes, and to put the love against the anger. Those are two beautiful coexisting things that exist at the same time.
And just to add to her, go ahead.
No, just one real quick. I'm just going to say, they exist, but you have to make the choice because they can't exist within you at the same time, if that makes sense. Because you can't have hate and love at the same time. I don't think that's possible. You can have them both there, but eventually you have to make the choice because one of them's going to be stronger than the other. One's going to take over the other, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say, so thank
okay,
you.
well, we're on the
No,
same
but I'm saying hate and love cannot they may exist at the same time, but they can't exist for us at the same time. I cannot hate and love you at the exact same moment. I must choose one or the other. That's why choice is so beautiful. Because that's why it's so beautiful. Because you go, well, why am I feeling? And that's where somebody's at. They get very confused because they don't want to feel those horrible, feelings. Because even with my friend, I said, you feel like crap. I mean, if you could tell me that this feeling of revenge or whatever, the story is, makes you feel good. He goes, well, it makes me feel good for a moment. And I said, until what? And he's like, yeah, because you cannot, because love is going to win. Love is the absolute answer. That's the closure of anything that is filled with pain. Umberto had the answer, the magic answer, the A+ answer.
Why it's important.
Yes, this is why, this is the meaning of this whole course in the next moment.
We can go home. We'll just take the test and we'll leave.
And for a mere $50, no, I was, as you were talking, I was having this thought process. Oh, I recognize this. This is my earlier self compared to what I'm trying to manifest these days, or I'm shifting into. The earlier self it's a worse one than hate. Worse than hate is oblivion. Worse than hate is unconsciousness. Worse than hate is you're determined. Something happens, all of a sudden you're determined. This is what you're doing. You have no control over it. I see it in like children. And then I recognize it in like an earlier psychological development of myself. It's just being lost. Something, I don't know what to do. I'm a victim. It's being a victim. And then the opposite is, I observe this. What can I do different? So that's the difference.
Hey.
All right, you can all go home. Umberto has spoken. Yes.
Well, this builds on something that Amber was saying. You were asking how we speak to ourselves, and I must have picked up the thought form because it came to me, the idea of the antidote frequency. If I'm in this, what is the antidote frequency? And so I started playing with the aha that my voice was an instrument, and that the timbre of my voice and the speed of my voice and the words that I speak instantly create something in my body. So I started playing with, and I was astonished how fast something could shift. I started playing with weird antidotes, like I was really overwhelmed by something, and it was my inner child was really feeling overwhelmed. But I decided to go magical, and I just said the word magical, and she shifted in 30 seconds. I'm like, oh my God. So then I spent an hour with my dog, and there were fairies and dragons I was putting around the house that were blowing different magic colors, and she was totally thrilled, But just using, the idea came to use the voice as an instrument for the antidote,
It is. All right. I think we should move ahead, unless somebody has something pressing to say. No. Oh, I got to look there for the clock. Okay. So, so as far as, are you using those prayers, and are they helpful, or yes, no?
Have you been using them, Jamie?
Just, you don't have to have a big discussion about it, but
Yeah,
I thought they were pretty
it's
cool,
okay, you won't get
actually.
in trouble if you did.
No, I mean, they're just supposed to be there to help you to just get the idea of doing something like that every day, doing a prayer and having it be something that means something to you. And I know you had experience with it. Anybody else? No? You don't like them? You can tell me if you don't like them. Maybe we won't use them next time.
Jamie has that look on her eyes.
Well, Jamie's got so much homework going that she doesn't even know which prayer I'm talking about.
I heard you say it.
No, I've been doing the same one every day about I accept divine guidance. That actually has been really, it's been bleeding into all of my treatments, which was actually really good because it's what I'd been thinking about for the last 2 weeks in this class and in practitioner class, and kind of what my whole vision for this class is to hear that divine guidance and to follow that divine guidance and develop that trust that every decision I make is with that divine guidance in mind. And so I accept divine guidance, which is on page 118, has been the prayer I've been reading every day, at least once a day, sometimes during the middle of the day. And it's been really helpful. And that's actually where I got that, it says, we cannot experience love while we hate. Neither can we enjoy peace while we remain confused. If we would enjoy harmony in our relationships and affairs, we must first become that harmony, which is the very essence of the divine, which is exactly what I've been attempting to do this week. And even with the how you talk exercises, I had realized that my self-talk had actually gotten a lot better than it used to be. Yeah, there's still body image issues and some dissatisfaction that comes in. But this week, because of this prayer, it has been more on, I want to create harmony in my life. I want to be peaceful. And if I'm always irritated, then I cannot create peace. So a lot of it had been, a lot of that had been reinforced by the meditation, the contemplation thought that we had assigned for practitioner, which is I practice the presence of God in everything I say and do. So that's also been running through my mind throughout the day, all day, especially when I feel I'm getting in a place where I'm like, I'm not feeling the greatest, or I know that my emotions are a little like thin. And so I generally say that, or I'm looking at somebody that isn't my favorite person or isn't, I'll think that and recognize that that is God.
That's great.
Yeah.
If we just would also accept the fact that this is scientific, what you're doing is scientific. You're actually changing the way your brain is working. And so therefore you're changing the way you look at things, and therefore the things you look at are changing, if that makes any sense. So it is scientific. It's not like, oh, we're just saying a bunch of words and we're trying to be positive. It's more than just being positive. We're actually shifting to a different, like it said in the beginning of the class, we're creating a different view of the world for ourselves, a different reality. And so then it has to show up. It has to, because we're vibrating at that level. So everything else is just going to fall away, and that's what's going to be left. And it doesn't mean that you don't meet challenges. I mean, I have challenges all the time, but you meet them in a different way. They don't look the same to you. They don't feel the same. They don't feel as overwhelming. You just don't look the same anymore.
So I'm going to give it to
Life
Adora, but I
changes.
have a point before you get to
Go
it.
ahead.
Two things that came up about the victim that Umberto was talking about, and these things that when they come up. So the two things that came up for me was, for Jamie, it's that resistance that causes that, that thing that when we're feeling something, right, and you're going, I don't want to feel that because you know better, and it's changing the mind. But I was thinking of the power of decision, that class, and I was thinking about how it always comes back to a decision. Victims and I don't know, it's just all procrastination. I've said it a million times, because you do know. You at least know what you don't want. Even in that moment, you do know something. But I don't know keeps me in that wonderful purgatory that we had when I was in Catholic school, that place where you're not in either place of it. And a victimized too, because when I was a victim, in whatever parts of my life I was, it was a wonderful opportunity. Because first of all, I never had to make a decision. How could I? I was a victim. How could I make a decision right now? I'm a victim. And so we fall into that, and society and our world promotes victimized victims, promotes them not as a thing, but it's what did I love? Edwin Gaines said that debt and everything is society's justifiable way of punishing yourself. Is the way that we get to punish ourselves. And I just went, holy crap. I wouldn't be vibrating if there wasn't truth to it, damn it. But that's when I realized that and you go into a victimized state, which is fine. People have been victimized. I'm writing a book that is more than half of it is about victimization of a little boy all the way to but I was never a victim. I was only victimized, even if you want to use that word. But really what was happening is I ended up victorized because I had victory.
I'm going to turn the air conditioner up again. I'm hot.
Well,
I'm having a flash. Go ahead.
I just, I had some days where I just was feeling really masterful, but my intention has been to be really present 100% of the time, to the best of my ability, practicing the presence of God and seeing that as everything. And so the Creative Ideas book, what I got called to do with it was to allow that to be God to speak to me in a moment where I was having difficulty finding the antidote. And that's how I've been using that book. And there has been at least once a day, sometimes more, moments when I'm actually in a vibration that is not a target vibration for mine. It's not a vibration of God, right? And when I'm telling myself the truth and I'm aware I'm not lifting, I'm moving, but I'm still kind of stuck in the mud a little bit. I pull that book out and I just say, and we've all done this with books, but that book is so good for this. Show me. There's only one. This is you. Ernest, you got it. God, you got it. Take me to the perfect thing that I can't think to think right now. And it's been amazing to use it that way.
I love it.
Before we move on to this thing, I just want to say something about the prayer we did for your friend too, and something that came up again. I must be really connecting with her tonight, so it's fine. But there's this thing that keeps coming up about that, and I want to get this idea of victim clear. Being sick, being bankrupt, being whatever isn't necessarily what I'm talking about as victim. This is where compassion and where things that we all make choices and things that happen. It's how we deal with them, how we pray through them, how we love through them. When our mentor, Dr. James Mellon, lost his daughter, as most of you know, because we talked about it here, lost his beautiful 19-year-old daughter, he could have felt, and probably has felt, very victimized, feels like a victim of life. But there's an opportunity when this is happening to love through it and to not judge it. It seems like a theme tonight, like a marquee for me. It's this idea of not judging illness, not judging bankruptcy, not judging our financial state, not judging our love, our businesses, not judging them by the appearances instead of going to the vibration, the frequency, the love of saying, how am I going to love through this? That's the biggest thing that I used to say when Nora passed. How am I going to love through this? When you love a friend, how am I going to love my way through this? When half the time I want to kick their butts or whatever you were saying, or, no, and then the other part, but own the no. It's of going, I should have said that. I don't want to say that. I do want to say that. Do you see the crazy making that we make for ourselves instead of just going, whew, I'm going to love through this. And sometimes it's screaming and shouting, and sometimes it's screaming at God, and sometimes it's screaming at yourself, and sometimes it's doing all of that. But at the end, how can we love through it? How can I vibrate high enough that I can have enough compassion, that I can help you through your journey? That people judge as bad because it's not the other. What do we? This got health and wealth, or health and not healthy is all the same in the quantum field of it all. It's all just energy moving around, and sometimes it gets stuck, and then sometimes we move through it. It's just such a dance. Rob, wake up. No, I'm kidding you. Do we have Beth on tonight? Okay.
We didn't know Bruce wasn't going to be here. We would have sent him.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll try to send it to everybody just
Actually,
in case something
did I?
happens.
No,
I think you just sent it to Beth, but we'll do that.
From now
It
on, I'll
just was
send
a
it to
thing.
everybody, just in
So anyway,
case.
does that make sense that we can get into it and just for a moment, for a week or so, just try saying, I'm not going to judge any of it. I'm not going to judge my body image. I'm not going to judge any of it. I'm just going to have it for a moment. And you're going to watch, in my opinion, what will happen is you're going to see that it doesn't have any power. Because it's the power that I give my resistance and my judgment to this isn't right is what causes the complete stuck until you say, I don't know, but I'm going to love my way. What'd you say, love? Oh, opens up. Rita? Carry on.
Any other questions about anything? Okay.
Always.
Okay, this is a whole other thing that happened. So much is happening. So I merged with someone who promotes events on the island, and we created a beautiful yoga class on Hanalei Bay last night. And I brought in a new trainer to do it, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be a whole new, experience for the yoga studio, and it was. And it turned out it was absolutely beautiful, and there were people, and all the surfers were like, oh, you know, and it was beautiful. So then what happened is it was so good that the person who was teaching it forgot they were with my studio. Right, you know how that happens, right? And that would happen, you know, and I just thought, it's okay, I'm just going to float back here. I did what I did. I produced this thing, and it's not, they're not going to forget me, you know, and it's going to be beneficial. So anyways, I saw it not, you know, and so when I used to have the event production company, I had to have people sign that when you perform at my event, that you only hand out our cards, and then you're free to do anything else you want any other time. But that's the agreement, right? So I hadn't explained that to this person, and I realized I had to go, okay. I had to go, oh, they're writing it, and it's beautiful. And so I need to explain. And so that's what I did, and I just said, oh, listen, as we go here, in order for me to produce another one, I'm going to need this from you. And it was just, oh, when do you want to start? That's what I got. So I was like, you know, that's from all this.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when things like that show up, that's what it's asking you. Like, there's a place within you that needed to use your voice, right? And the universe gave you that place to know you could have used it and turned into a victim and, well, what you doing? Or do what you did, which was awesome, right? Sometimes. Good.
Yes.
Yay. All right.
We know all about that rodeo.
So these were just a few points from how to change your life. So, and if you read it. So everything is mind. If everything is mind, then that would mean your mind too, right? So like I was saying before, it's what you use of that mind that is what your life is. So don't get the mind confused with your brain. Your mind is what's creating what your mind, the mind is like the engineer and the brain is like the engine, right? So your brain can't do anything without the mind, without the consciousness, right? So when you're gone, your brain doesn't do anything, right? But your consciousness lives on. So when I say you're rewiring your brain, it's your consciousness that's rewiring your brain. Does that make sense? All right, I just want to make sure that's clear. Sometimes people think your brain is your mind, and it's not. Mind responds and produces according to your believing thought. We talked about that already in this discussion. So it's what you really believe. It's not just your thought. Did I spell believe right? Why does it look weird? Does sometimes a word look weird to you? I think it's right. Anyway, so it's not just a thought. It's the ones you believe in and the ones you believe in the most. So that's why when you look to change something, you have to look at what the belief, what's making you think that. Like what's behind that is your belief, right? You have the right and the power to think what you want to think, so you may create good conditions for yourself and others. In other words, he was saying, sometimes we don't think we have control over our thoughts, but you do get to choose, like you said before, you get to choose which of those things you want to choose from. Now, I believe, we were talking about this, the beliefs don't really go away. Like you said, Amber, they're all there. They don't really go away. Like you say, oh, I want to get rid of that belief that I had as a child or whatever. I don't think they ever really go away. I just think they get weaker and weaker and weaker the more you pour in the belief that you want. Does that make sense? Do you agree, disagree?
Well, you're not going to get rid of the memory.
No.
For one, it's not that. I think people sometimes confuse letting go of something with the memory.
Yeah.
And you're not going to. I mean, I'm really seeing it with the writing of this book, and seeing that the memories are still there, or I couldn't be calling them up to write them. But what it is how am I reacting to them?
Right.
Versus how I
much
reacted
energy
to
are you
them then.
giving it to it?
And so, yeah, you're going to have that energetic moment like, holy, and kind of reliving for a second. But then you make another choice. You go, wow, that's a very good remembering, but that's not what I believe anymore. And that's not who I am anymore. And I love you, move on.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
when we say we're changing a belief, I don't think we're getting rid of the other belief. We're just deciding that we want to believe this way instead,
It's choosing
right?
your belief, yeah.
right? It's kind of like a muscle, like when you're doing an exercise or something and you get really strong, but then you stop doing the exercise and all of a sudden, you've lost that or whatever it was you were trying to strengthen. So I think it's the same with the belief. So the more you can be in that positive mode and choose the beliefs that you want to choose and work on that, then the other ones just get weaker and weaker. At least that's my feeling. And we were discussing this because we used to think you get rid of your beliefs, and I really don't think so.
I think for me, the power in what Ernest Holmes was talking about, that it's really the marriage of thought plus feeling. So we don't get rid of the thoughts, those neural pathways with the thoughts, as she was saying, are there, but I don't have to couple it with the feeling anymore. So I can witness the thought moving through my neural pathway, and I can go, rather than the thought goes through my neural pathway and I go, yeah, they were really a shit, and I add, and I add, and I add, and then I end up in the emotions. So to me, changing a belief means unhooking the caboose of the emotion from the thought.
And
Becoming disinterested.
And the power comes from, we're not going to get out of it, is deciding. We
right.
must, we can't, I don't care if it goes in my neuro anything. Whatever it's doing scientifically is wonderful, but at the end of the day, we're the ones that are going to make the decision whether or not that train's going to keep going or if it's going to stop, and we're going to redo it. And the only way we can do that is by stopping and saying, what do I choose to believe now? What do I want to, especially with stuff that's coming up from, memories. Because what happens is something will trigger you. All triggers is past memories that are still there that go, oh my God, opportunity. I can jump right on in now. He's been triggered. Come on in, everybody. And you go, oh, by the way, I just want to let you know. I used to have a book that I had about the going away party. Oh, yeah. And he had a big going away party for all of his emotions and that were not serving him. And they all tried to sneak in, and it was very cleverly done, if I must say so myself. But what I really got about it was that they want that I remember Fear's dialogue was like, oh yeah, you got me now, but I'll be back. There's no way, because you can't live without me. You need me to, and everyone's like, well, I hope he doesn't get rid of me, all these disempowering thoughts. And so when you start getting your control back and saying, I've decided I don't need you anymore, everything stops. It's like, I thought that he depended on us. And that was what the whole story was about. But it was so true, because that's what we're doing with our mind and our
So you control your own
thoughts.
good and may transform your life into experiences of happiness, health, and prosperity. Yes, you may, if you can choose, like Patrick said. Eventually you have to decide. So these are just points from the book. Everything is mind, and you are oh, that was what I just said.
You said it.
Oh, why did it do that? No, there you go.
But
How
you're
to
free
change
to
your
choose.
life. You're free to choose. I was playing with something. I wasn't doing very good with it, but I was rushed. You are free to choose. What you are deeply feeling is what you establish in mind, and that is true. It's the feeling behind the belief. You might have a belief, but if you don't have a lot of feeling behind it, nothing is going to happen from that belief. And feeling is the power in spiritual mind treatment. Focus on your God traits. Well, that's the other thing, like we were talking about before, about stop focusing on the negative and focus on the wonderful things you are and pour that into it. And, sometimes in this teaching, it can seem like we're just picking ourselves over. Like it could be worse than going to confession as a Catholic, like, Father, I have sinned. But that's not what this is about. So I think it's good to stay focused on your God traits. Remember those traits we talked about last week, your beauty and your wisdom and all of those traits, because they're all there and you just have to nurture them. And forgive yourself is a big one, right, Patrick? Forgive yourself. How do you do that? That's a whole class in itself, is forgiving yourself.
Well,
Because God doesn't know the past. The present moment is all it knows. And it's a choice, too, to forgive yourself, right?
absolutely.
And you know, I always like to say, I was acting from everything I knew at that time, and I might not have known everything I know now. That's why we were talking about hindsight, how hindsight's ridiculous, because you say, oh, I would never do that, you know, if today. Well, of course you wouldn't, because you know, you weren't that same person back then, whatever it is that you think you did that was so horrible. So, yeah, forgive yourself.
The only way to forgive yourself is to accept yourself. I think I said it, that Dr. Petra was saying that she didn't like the word forgive, and she didn't like this and that. She said, because forgiving is kind of arrogant in this same that I have to forgive you in order for me to. No, we just not have to accept your behavior, not accept it, but forgiveness is forgiveness is such allowing, and it feels so good to forgive, because then you're not carrying that corpse of yesteryear, as they
Letting go, right, and allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to be who you are today, and to not let that hold you back from who you want to be right now. I mean,
yeah, hindsight's an interesting. Rita and I were talking about it, and I said, when my mother passed away and I didn't go there, I remember somebody said to me, well, as long as you can live with yourself. I was like, oh, Jesus. You know, and I was thinking, another comforting friend in time of need. But anyway, that's called spiritual sarcasm, by the way. But yeah, but I said, and so he said, and I said, okay, here's the deal. If it were today, I'd be on the plane with a mask on and I would have been there. Today. If you brought me back to yesterday, I would have done the exact same thing I did and not go. Because at that moment, that's exactly what I felt and I decided to do. Does that make sense? But people have tortured themselves for all their lives for going, if I'd only done that, if I'd only done, but you didn't.
well, and it holds you back.
And it holds you back from really experiencing the life that is now.
Right. And then give up a false sense of guilt. What is that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
A false sense of guilt. Nobody.
Jamie.
What?
But what?
Not true?
Because if it's false, it's not true.
Right.
And so if you're giving up a false sense of guilt, you're feeling guilty over something that you shouldn't be feeling guilty about.
Right.
Because, like you said just a second ago, you're no longer that child who's learning how to walk.
Right.
You're already now an adult who knows how
Right.
to walk
Right.
and speak, etc. So guilt is one of the negative things that does more harm than it does good.
It's mean. It's being mean to yourself.
Guilt is such a debilitating thing to have. I just was thinking
We're
of
going
that.
to take a break in a minute.
How interesting that is to a false sense of guilt. Ugh.
Yeah. And be kind and encouraging to yourself. Yes, of course. Hello? Why is it not going? Oh. All right. I'm going to leave it there. So we're going to stop.
Going to leave you with that
Some
blank.
points to remember.
Points to remember, and then it's just a blank canvas ready for you to write upon. 5 minutes. Adara has set this since day one. She said, we need that bathroom break. And I said, how long? And she said, 5 minutes. That's all we get.